What's up, poo-poos and pee-pees? Very fitting with the title, I know, right? Today I'm building a very profitable business, aka peeing. Not exactly, but almost. We're building a talking toilet business that lets Sims interact with talking toilets. Making it quick and painless, let's get into it, shall we? Beginning with the build, I had a hard time finding a decent and similar looking floor or terrain paint compared to my surroundings. Not shocking at all. I really don't understand why we simply can't get the ones they used in the environment. Couldn't be that hard, right? Oh yeah, we had to pay for dust, weather, and love. Never mind. That would probably be another pack idea. I joke. After figuring that out, I move on to the shell. Oh, scary. My vision was contemporary, artsy-fartsy, no pun intended. Get it? The vibe I was going for was most definitely almost a museum-looking one with platform roofs, since I then don't have to do what I fear most. Roofing. Roofs are my natural enemy in The Sims 4 and maybe broken mods, but besides that, I just started placing some random squares in an asymmetrical pattern. Yeah. The key to not make it look as boring is just to put said random squares with a lot of variety, aka just... yeah. No, that's it. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. You will see me place a front door and add a base wallpaper to get a general idea of where to maybe place more walls and add other bump outs. On top of that, I'm adding a second floor just because our little purple friend down here needs somewhere to reside. Plus it also adds more dimension than a single floored building. Adding half walls differing in sizes will help to add a lot more shape and interest than just flat walls. Additionally, I can choose the same wallpaper as the walls, which yet again, we don't have the luxury with platforms and foundations. I really want the base game roofs, foundations, and terrain paint swatch update. Please. Anyways, having added somewhat a theme of brown brick, beige paneling, and black siding, I was uncertain if I should add a trim on each wall, so for now it's only the front part. And I'm also not forgetting to paint the ceilings this time. I did contemplate on changing the brick color and wondering if I should add columns, but that idea just simply didn't look as expected, so I scrapped it anyway. Moving on, I also added trim for the half walls and raised some of the floors. For windows, like almost every modern-ish build, I want to go for as much light as possible in my little blocks of concrete, so I added the eco-lifestyle windows on almost each side of the walls, with an exception of the Moschino stuff pack ones. Shortly realizing that I do in fact need a functional bathroom, I stopped myself from adding big windows in there too. So I started to almost custom make my own with the new ones from businesses and hobbies by placing them on top of each other by holding the Alt key. Yes, there is minor clipping when you move the camera, but I actually don't mind it flickering from time to time. That's a lie, I hate it, but it's barely obvious when you do play the game. Considering my pet peeve on windows being blocked even the slightest by platforms or roofing, I did the same magic trick on the second floor where I had the half-wall roof situation going on. To make the windows look not so boring, I added some variation with businesses and hobbies skinny window in between the other already placed ones. If you see me just zoomed out checking how the place looks, that is just me making sure there's nothing to tweak about anymore. That being said, I started to fix the floor on the outside with the brilliant idea of wanting to add some fountains and a little bit of greenery, since you do see that often in like fancy museums or art installations. At least I think. Don't rip my toenails out if I'm wrong. Talking about greenery, I genuinely struggle so bad with landscaping modern builds. Majority of the times I just throw in some succulents and call it a day. Can you guess what we did here? To be fair, this is not the full landscaping and there will be trees later on. Promise. At this point I started the floor plan and the only thing I had technically accounted for was the bathrooms, unironically. Don't mind the already lowered section next to it, this is just so I don't forget what idea I had in first place. Back to the bathroom, I do end up replacing some of the windows I had before, since yet another pet peeve of mine is a wall being placed inside of windows. Yeah, I know. Kinda not being sure how to fix the bathroom, I move on to painting the walls, and honestly, I simply just mirror the walls from the outside and leave the blanks where I'm unsure if I want the same wallpaper or not. My brain worm having successfully eaten my brain mass away, I still didn't forget that I wanted to make this build very platform heavy, if you can even call this platforms at this point. So I built a wall where I wanted to raise the floor. That being done, I've noticed that this would throw my windows off yet again. So I went ahead and switched them with shorter ones. For flooring, I went with a black marble on the elevated and lowered platforms, and for the rest I added a similar beige wood matching the brick walls. Another day, another slay, we're at day 2 of me building this damn business, and guess who forgot about the inside and is now back on landscaping? Of course it's me. Originally I wanted to use the cypress trees, but then I looked around and noticed, hey, this isn't going to fit in at all, so I folded to societal expectations and used the birch tree that was found in the nearby environment. At least I think it's a birch tree. Thank God for Twisted Maxie's Better Build by mod so that I don't have to put in the debug cheats each and every time to access cool things like tree cages that I will add later on. God, I love debug, I wish it was real. After struggling where to place the trees, I move on to yet again, succulents. Of course I do. And add them including a few rocks. I know a character who would love to eat those.
I can dig that.
I also added some ferns to fill up the dead spaces in between and additionally added some cute lanterns, I think. At least I think they're lanterns. Having almost forgotten about the little apartment above, I had to figure out where to put the staircase, and I'm not over-exaggerating when I say this. Trying to figure out where to put the stairs took me a good hour. I kid you not, an hour. An hour of my life that I could have probably played Overwatch ranked and been verbally harassed, but that's besides the point. Or is it? Adding a cute mailbox to receive bills and taxes, I somehow, somewhen found a tree with pretty fairy lights that I really wanted to place in the backyard, or the front yard for the apartment, I guess. I genuinely don't know how my mind jumped from an hour of fighting with the staircase to me placing landscaping again. Since we have terrain paint instead of tiles, I erased the spot where I want the tree to be and then used the base game fence to basically make a custom planter. Thinking to myself about how hellish dark it's going to be at nighttime here, I decided on some cute little lights from Get Together on each corner of the thingamabob makeshift planter that I then sized down twice. Talking about nighttime and dark, I did not forget about the front of the building where I add some floor lights from base game and on top of that some cute fairy lights above the door from businesses and hobbies. Don't mind the cow plant that randomly appears. Finally coming back to the inside, I thought to myself, how cool would it be if there was toilet art? Yeah, you heard me. Toilet art. So the platforms that I had already done earlier will have the sole purpose of displaying what's inside of my head. What? I don't even know, man. Jumping back to the bathroom because I can't stay focused on one area of the build, I do decide to make it smaller. I should have just done a 2x1 tile, and they should be grateful for even getting a bathroom here, okay? Besides that, I tried to keep it really basic and simple by adding a toilet, obviously, a sink, and a mirror. Now thinking about it, I should have placed the mirror facing the toilet so you can in full glory watch yourself piss or shiz. Hindsight better than foresight, am I right? Running into a window problem, I had to replace them yet again, otherwise they would have been covered by the mirror. I stand by the watching yourself pee statement. Shrinking the bathroom and having little one-tile areas shouldn't be that big of a problem, because I will forget about it anyways! After placing some random tiles in the bathroom and with that completing it, I move on to the only, and I mean only seating in this whole place. Maybe not if you count on the toilets. This is a fancy place, and from what I've seen, rich people really love discomfort for some reason, that probably being boredom and being too well off. For that exact reason, I shall get them the big smoochy kissy lime lips couch. Yeah. Moving on, I placed an extra room with diagonal walls to have a nice additional space for death traps, I mean snacks and entertainment. Right after that, I convinced myself to finally paint the remaining walls. Shocker. I know, right? Trying out different shades made me realize that I should go with a simple black wallpaper and brown trim. To make it look not too choppy where the wallpapers meet, I added some of the get-together columns. I also changed the platform trim on the lowered side to make the column look not too funky, aka floating. Following that, I started to create my fart art. What am I doing at this point? To ensure the deluxe and lavish look, I decided to go with a gold and red chandelier from the Storybook Nursery kit, which I placed right under the art showcases? Yeah. At this point in time, the only thing I could think about is how some rich people quite literally excrete gold, so with that vision in mind, I had to look for everything gold in the search bar, and on that note, my mere self will discover a gold plate with fruits, making for a good statement piece in my opinion. Oh boy. Just in case you were wondering, you can raise and lower objects by pressing Ctrl 9 to 0. You will probably also see me place a good amount of gold bars around the toilets. God knows what my thought behind this piece was. I also did find a sign for the outside, but due to me not being fluent in Simlish, I have no idea what this means and could, for all I know, imply that I'm running a grocery store. Surprise, I guess? Back on the inside, I finally give my attention to the main attraction. The talking toilets. Yay! For those I definitely wanted to have enough of, for at least 8 Sims to be able to talk. To give a little privacy, yeah, I place almost corner walls diagonally off each other, which also splits the place up decently. Getting distracted by more shiny again? Bro. I add a globe and some additional clutter I found while scrolling. Thinking that the hallway might look a bit odd with the random walls and cutoffs, I came up with the bright idea of making the area with the yapping toilet sunken. To do that, I simply made a room in the shape of the area I wanted to lower, removing the fences in this case that I don't need after lowering the room. You can also see me add a little plaque with, hey, let's pretend info about the toilets and their history. In addition, I left space above that for the portrait of said toilet's art. And then I had the absolute most urethra moment of my life. Skibbity toilet. And I will leave it at that. My brain also not being satisfied about staying in one place at the time, I decided to get some nice room dividers that add a little privacy and greenery. Planning out the ticket kiosk was a little tricky simply because I didn't have much space to spare without it feeling a little too cramped in here. All of these placements really didn't matter at the end, considering the game shankingly told me that they could not access the ticket kiosk for some reason, so my ideas kinda disintegrated like farts, or didn't age that well if you want to put it differently. After adding my chandeliers where needed, we head to the death trap. Break room. Yeah. Where I will free up some space for my dear cow plant. It's time to get distracted again. Yay! This has become a prominent theme in this video, huh? At this point, I'm just going through the clutter and finding more and more things that I wanted to add to my art pieces. And even then, I got a little distracted finding a silly looking fish and placing it above the door frame. Besides that, the rest of this is just me placing finishing touches of gnomes and toilets, some cute art, and genuinely random pieces of furniture that looked odd and could sell as art, but probably aren't. The first floor being done with that, I will not give my little purple friend here much, besides the necessities such as a baseball bat, a half-wired kitchen that includes a microwave and a mini fridge, a sleeping bag, and a fully functional bathroom. Even that is a bit too nice, but I'm not trying to make my life harder than it already is, okay? Having said that, the build is finally done after 4 hours, with an hour being taken up by my battle against the staircase and the rest making absolute impeccable art. Am I right? I did in fact make Celery take the art pieces that you will see shortly and grew the cow plant just a little, you could say. Just a little. Surprisingly, I didn't need to bulldoze the lot one damn time, which is really rare because I do tend to struggle with shells and overthink it. We take what we can get, I guess. Now I shall give you a tour of the finished build, and with that being said, thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. Also like the damn video, please. Okay, leave.